What was your first live event that you were in attendance for pro wrestling?
It was a house show in Youngstown, Ohio, and Roddy Piper was on it. Hercules was on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Who else? Sergeant Slaughter was there.
So this must have been late 80s, probably 88,
I think
89,
so.
Something like that.
Late 80s, very early 90s. Mm-hmm. But it was awesome. And I got to go backstage because my dad had connections with the local police force, and Sergeant Joe Carbone was our connect, and he took us backstage, and I got a picture with Roddy Piper and Hercules and Sergeant Slaughter. And the cool thing is that me and Sergeant Slaughter and Roddy Piper, basically, but really Sergeant Slaughter, we reenacted the picture from like, oh boy, I don't know, almost 30 years later at the Comedy Store one night when Sergeant Slaughter was there hanging out with Roddy Piper, shit. Who I ended up becoming really, really close friends with because he came to the Comedy Store randomly, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Wow. And started doing stand-up comedy, and the Comedy Store opened its doors immediately to Roddy Piper and gave him late night spots to work out his stories and things like that. And of course, he was unbelievably great at it. Who would have guessed that the guy that basically invented running promos and invented having your own sideshow on wrestling
would be good on a mic.
yeah, he's so entertaining.
So, yeah, totally. That's amazing.
But
so
of course,
you credited him toward. Yeah. I mean, that must have been. If you said that's towards the end of his life, obviously. Another one taken a little early, you know. So, I mean, what was your interactions with him other than the comedy scene? Like, what did you guys? I mean, if you became close, it must have been off the stage and outside the Comedy Store as well. Like, what were some of the things you guys would share in common?
Totally, 100%. Really, it was a true like mentorship, and I think he really enjoyed that. Like, learning. He looked at me as a he knew I was an extremely hard worker that wanted to grow and learn and things like that. And he taught me a lot, and we would hang out. We'd go to eat after late nights at the Comedy Store, 2:30 a.m. trips to, a diner or Denny's. One time he took me to, the reason why I say Denny's because we went there once. When you're in LA, Denny's isn't exactly the place that you go. There's
plenty of other like really good diners too. They're like famous diners for being in LA.
Mel's and Swingers and Cantors and all these places. And one night on like a Saturday night, I'll never forget. It's one of my favorite memories is it was like 2:30 a.m. on a Saturday night, and he goes, "How about Denny's, huh? You want some Denny's?" And I just wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
And eat, of course. I was probably starving actually at the time. I have my timetables way off. Time flies because I just realized I was very poor at the time. So this is like 11 12 years ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so we're going to Denny's, and if you know anything about Denny's in LA, it's like way east. And east isn't a great direction to go in Los Angeles. And the only Denny's is on like Vine and Sunset, and it's always, especially back then, always ridiculously packed. There is a line that goes all the way out to the sidewalk. It takes like 45 minutes to get in, and I'm sort of dreading this idea, even though I get to hang out with Roddy Piper and I mean, this is, these are the highlights of my life. I'm still like, this is going to be, because, Roddy doesn't expect anything. He's not a diva at all. Very unbelievably nice and great guy. But it is sort of bothersome, I guess, if you're with somebody and like that and you see them get told that they have to wait in line. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, I hear you, though. It's like, don't you know who this is?
Right.
The fuck is wrong with you? Roll out the fucking red carpet, Denny's. He wants moons over my hammy. Get it, stat.
Exactly. And I'm thinking this the entire drive there. And we pull up to the parking lot, and the line is obnoxious. I mean, it is twice as long as it usually is. we park the car and I go, man, it's a long line. He goes, oh, follow me. You know, it's one of those things where he's super casual and he just walks right along the line, goes into the left swinging door that's closed. You know, the right is being held open by the line of people. And I'm walking alongside. I'm like, oh my God, what is he going to do? Like there's probably, you know, morons working here at Denny's that are in the weeds. There's no way. What if, you know, they're not going to recognize Rowdy. This is like a young kid job. They're not going to recognize Roddy Piper in 2010. And sure enough, there's this kid, maybe, I don't know, 18, 22, somewhere in there. And he's bumbling around. He's in the weeds completely. Menus flying around everywhere. And he goes, excuse me, you have any chance you have a table? And the kid looks up and you can tell he's just about to go like, what the fuck's your problem? And
like, look at the fucking line, moron.
Sees Roddy Piper, and he goes, yes, Mr. Piper, right this way. And it turns out they always keep one emergency table open just in case some fucking, you know, monster comes in, just in case Tarantino or, you know, Chappelle or Rick Flair or Roddy Piper comes in. Like, and they just have this one table that's always blocked off. And sure enough, I mean, maybe he knew that before, and it was just my first time going to Denny's with him, but my mind was blown. And by the way, I don't think he does go there a lot because the kid was completely starstruck. And it's also quite amazing to think like, wow, even today's, and this is again 2010, but still an 18 to 22-year-old in 2010 was like, oh my goodness, yes, sir, we right this way. It was so cool, and to see his excitement and
he was probably a big fan. It was probably around Halloween time. He was a big fan of They Live, as we all were. Still am. Came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm fresh out of bubble gum.
Check this out.
Let's see this. Fuck yeah. That is
Rowdy
awesome.
Roddy Piper bubblegum.
Yeah, that's what he's showing me for these guys who are listening right now instead of seeing this. You could also check this out on YouTube. But yeah, this is that's amazing.
You see, it says all out of bubblegum.
Yep, all out of bubblegum right there. What a badass. What a great thing to have right there.
Yeah, it's classic. I keep it on this little shelf of trinkets and stuff all the time.
That's rad. I do know that Denny's you're talking about too. I mean, on Sunset, I've done many a record off of Sunset Boulevard, so I know exactly that Denny's you're talking about. It's basically across the street from a Sugarfish now. There's a Sugarfish over there. It's been there for
and there's a whole plaza behind it.
Yeah,
Starbucks there.
Yeah, I know this one. I know this well. I know that one well.
Yeah, and you know how long that line is, especially on a weekend night. I mean, chaos.